How's it going, guys? It's Joe. Welcome to the channel. Today's going to be another Grand Arena matchup. Going against Mol Elena here, who's a really solid, formidable opponent, who's got about 6.5 million GP, about 100k more in the top 80, has got a little bit more relics than me. However, we're pretty matched up in lifetime banners as well as mods. So I just wanted to get it out there, guys, that if you're looking to see efficiency, this is not where you're going to see it, unfortunately. I'm just putting it out there. I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. I hope you stick around till the end. It's still going to be a fun Grand Arena matchup. So just looking at the overview here, guys, I just want to quickly show you. This gentleman is in one of the top 20 or 30 guilds in TW at the moment. So it should be a fairly interesting matchup. So just looking at his roster here, he's got REY, and I gotta say this is one of the most optimal REYs I've ever come across in Grand Arena. Pretty solid roster. He's got all the meta teams and they're quite optimally modded. In the bottom line here, he looks like he's got a gas team on defense, and the top line he's got Colorin Unmasked, Night Sisters, Phasma and Bastilishan there. And of course he's got REY and Grievous here at the bottom. So to kick things off, guys, we're going to go straight for that REY, and we're going to use the exact same strategy that we used in our previous video. So in this particular matchup, guys, the idea here is to slow REY down a bit and try and prevent her from using that whirlwind, and try and just possibly drop one of your characters before she goes into ultimate. And that way, when she does use the ultimate, your Kylo Ren can survive. So there's a couple of misplays here from the get-go. I get really nervous when I'm going against REY, as I know it can really easily go sideways. So I'm going to pass this turn meter on to Kylo Ren here. I got rid of Finn, and I actually used this on REY, the second ability, which you shouldn't do. So REY always prioritizes Thrawn as well, so Thrawn's out of the game and REY's ready to utilize her special or ultimate ability there. So I am actually celebrating at the moment because I know that I still have Hux, so I'm able to survive REY's ultimate there. I've got Kylo at almost about 130k health, which is pretty handy. And now I'm going to use my ultimate ability on REY for the 47 banners there, which is pretty typical going against REY when using Kylo Ren. So this is where it gets a bit more fun, as I actually tried to experiment a little bit here. And I wanted to get that weapon tech onto gas and try to get a little bit more damage in against this gas team. So I've got Arc Trooper here with me as well. My Arc Trooper is pretty fast at about 290 speed. I'm gonna use my basics here, try and get General Skywalker's protection down. However, the opposing General Skywalker took 4 turns all at once. So that does happen in 3v3, guys. All the turn order gets messed up and I don't even know how to explain it, unfortunately. They went for Wat Tambor here, and that was a bit unfortunate for me, as once General Skywalker drops down onto the ground, he actually loses that weapon tech. So now that I don't have weapon tech and no Wat Tambor to be able to place that, it's no longer a fair fight, as once the opposing General Skywalker gets up, he's going to be getting up with full protection. which is really unfortunate for me as I get blasted just like that. And now I'm forced to do another cleanup. Luckily, having a look at my opponent here, he has actually tripped a couple of times, which I'm very excited about. I've been playing around with a lot of teams on defense, guys, and I find that a lot of these compositions with Night Sisters, Geonosians actually work really well on defense. So I'm gonna go against Grievous here, and I'm gonna use my typical JKR with GMY. We're gonna go ahead and mark B2 from the get-go. I had a look at the mods here. B2 is modded for predominantly health sets and a ton of protection primaries. So as you can see, he's pretty tanky. And we're just gonna slowly whittle away on his health and protection there. Gonna get an assist on Grandmaster Yoda, get some protection up. Savior gets procced there as Grievous attacks Grandmaster Yoda. And that B1 is an absolute menace at about 9k offense. Been able to mark B2 here. Get an assist. And we dropped B2. So now we're gonna cycle around, get everyone healthy. And actually, at this point, I had just decided to drop B1 here, as I knew he was actually more menacing than this Grievous at 9k offense. Whereas this Grievous is predominantly modded for health primaries. A ton of top players these days, they try and mod their Grievous with a crit damage cross. However, this Grievous actually has a oh, not cross, but triangle, crit damage triangle. However, this Grievous has predominantly health primaries at this point, so I knew I would be able to get through him. And as you can see, guys, I'm not too worried about being optimal in terms of banners and efficiency, as I'm quite lucky that my opponent actually started attacking and I had a bit more planning ahead of me that I was able to do. And we're gonna hit the Kylo Ren Unmasked team up here with our resistance. So this team was actually modded pretty optimally, and that first order executioner did a ton of damage on our team. So that executioner took 2 turns all at once, which is pretty crazy. And it looks like they've almost dropped Jedi Training Rey here. She's on the red, and at this point I started getting worried. However, I knew I really had to target First Order Executioner, and I decided to pass the stealth onto BB-8 there, and that way I can possibly recover a little bit of health and protection on Rey. Gonna use that basic on First Order Executioner, pass more stealth here, and I'm just gonna use my basic to get rid of Executioner there. I'm gonna stun Kylo Ren. Gonna get that healing immunity. And look at that, I got a little bit of my health and protection back, and my heart is no longer pounding as quick as it did 2 minutes ago. And thinking about my previous experiences going against Kylo Ren Unmasked with OG Kylo, I've always had Rey quite healthy. I've never had her go down this low in health and protection. So I wanted to be more careful here towards the end. So I'm gonna get the healing immunity onto OG Kylo there as well. Try and stun lock him at this point. Just whittle away on that health with basics. get another Illuminated Destiny out just before I finish him off here. For a solid 53 banners there. Now looking at this gas matchup, I still had Kylo Ren unmasked as well as OG Kylo. And typically when you look at this particular lineup, in 5v5 I use Kylo Ren unmasked to clean up against gas, and it usually works fairly well. However, this is 3v3, so this is new territory and we're all just learning to play this as we go. And this gas is modded pretty solid, as he's doing a ton of damage on my Kylo Ren unmasked. And I am getting those stuns out, however, he's just doing a ton of damage on us. Overwhelming Kylo Ren unmasked there. And unfortunately my OG Kylo doesn't actually have the Zeta, so that's a little bit unfortunate that I can't regain any of my protection from his third ability. So that's one failed cleanup there, guys. I really wanted to get rid of gas here though at this point, as I really wanted to see what was in the back line before I work on anything else up at the top. So I'm gonna use my CLS team here, and I almost blasted him on my first go. And I was just a little bit frustrated, as I probably could have slowed that match down a bit and regained a little bit of protection on my Han Solo. So looking at the back line, there's a couple of scoundrels and separatists. However, they're not too menacing. There's a G12 Dooku and Newt Gunray in the bottom. So I'm gonna use my Padme against this Night Sister squad here up the top. And some of these battles, guys, are actually really straightforward. However, in the spur of the moment, thinking about it now, when you're nervous about getting the win or getting the full clear, sometimes your mind just doesn't think straight. And that's just where you make those mistakes. However, this was a fairly easy matchup. Used that third ability on Zombie to get the 54 banners there. So interesting choice of defense here. And it's always when you think in retrospect that you realize the mistakes you've made and the decision making. I literally could have used this DR team against the Droideka team at the top, as opposed to using it on this Newt Gunray that's G12. As if you have a look, I actually overwhelmed all of them there with my DR, and that was just overkill. So we've still got scoundrels and bounty hunters here in the back, but we've still got a decent number in our roster at the moment. So if you guys saw my previous video, it was so much fun utilizing a Boba Fett lead with Django and Mandalorian. So I'm gonna try that here once again against this Droideka team, led by the IG and Magna Guard. So we're waiting on them to take a turn, and that way we can find who it is we need to target for our contract. As you can see here, Droideka is evading a fair number of attacks, and I was really hoping to drop him with that execute. However, it didn't work out for us, and as a result, it was a bit more iffy, as we weren't really getting towards our payouts, and we're just stuck behind this Droideka's damage immunity. At that point as well, I could have used my execute on Boba Fett to dispel that damage immunity. So it's a couple of misplays here and there. And there's another misplay. And that's a solid Droideka there, guys, as he's dodging a lot of our attacks here. So I've only got Bounty Hunter's resolution on Jango at this stage. And I actually lose Mando there. I finally learned to use execute, and I'm able to drop him. At that point, I was thinking to myself, do I need to use another cleanup team? However, I'm so glad that I didn't have to, as I could finally use my Traya squad here against Bastila Shan. Fortunately, there weren't any Geos in the back line. Usually, people like to put their Geos on defense. And I fought this a similar Jedi team to this team in my last matchup. And it actually held on defense. So if you guys don't know, that protection up from Bastila Shan's leadership is insane. It's really hard to get through, especially if you've got high health on your Jedi characters. So I'm gonna work on Ezra here. I've got Isolate on Bastila Shan at the moment, and I'm just working towards my Annihilate. I'm gonna use that Isolate on Bastila Shan again, and Hoda gets a heal on Ezra there, so potentially another misplay, as I could have literally just dropped Ezra there. And I get the 50 banner win, which is pretty inefficient, but I'll take it. And looking at my current teams here, I've still got Shakti and Ahsoka. So Ahsoka actually has quite an interesting leadership here, where she adds evasion to your team. And adds a little bit of turn meter whenever your characters evade as well. So at this point, I'm just checking out the special abilities here and seeing if I can do anything to stop Bosk from taunting. However, it doesn't look that way. It looks like I can't stop him from taunting. However, I do have a little bit of Confuse to work around and a solid Dispel on Ahsoka and Shakti to work with. So I got a Dispel there on a counter attack, and I've got a Confuse on Bosk. I'm going to confuse Dengar, and I'm going to start working on Greedo here. And this Dengar still hasn't gone into stealth at this point, so I'm going to start working on him as well. They get a dodge there. So what I noticed about 3v3, guys, is damage over time works really well as turn meter increases. I guess it's because the cycle happens fairly quickly in 3v3 as opposed to 5v5, so you can actually feel the dots doing a ton of damage. So teams like Old Republic or Darth Vader led teams will work pretty well. If you guys have a solid Canderous auto, that'd be good on 3v3. So I still have a couple of first order teams here as well. The problem is that I've had to use Hux against REY, so I'm no longer able to make use of his leadership. And I've just tried to utilize this team here to beat down this Phasma-led first order here at the top. Gonna get a Dispel on that Stormtrooper there. Gonna pass this assist on to Executioner, get some speed downs. Every single one of them have advantage at this point, and we're quickly losing our health and protection on Phasma here. Finally got Phasma down, and I'm gonna work a little bit on First Order Officer. And they're still evading a ton of my attacks here. So if there's a theme to this GAC, it's evasion. Bring back the evasion meta, guys. Gonna get a Dispel on Stormtrooper there. And I'm slowly losing too much health and protection, and it looks like I'm gonna have to clean up this battle as well. Now fortunately, I've still got Darth Vader, Wampa and IPD. So I decided to utilize them for the cleanup, and I've got that maxed out leadership on Darth Vader, and as you're about to see, the dots here will do a ton of damage on the opposing team as they pop fairly quickly in 3v3. And if you've got that leadership maxed, they're always going to have dots on them, which worked out pretty well for me. Here, as you can see, I'm not doing a ton of damage with my characters, however the dot points are actually doing so much damage here. And as the last couple of dot points pop there, we get First Order Officer off of the game. And now we've got a Malevolence fleet to battle with. We're going to be using our General Kenobi and Galactic Republic ships. Now to begin with, what I was trying to do here is try and get as much damage on the Hyena Bomber as I can. However, whenever I got a turn on Anakin, I wanted to get the buff immunity on Sun Fac's ship, and that way we can avoid that taunt in the future. There we go, we got healing immunity and buff immunity on Sun Fac. Unfortunately, he gets a cleanse off, and the Hyena Bomber here throws out all the buzz droids. So we're going to use Plo Koon to cleanse off all those buzz droids, and we're going to pass a little bit of turn meter onto everyone and work on Hyena Bomber here. Once Hyena Bomber is down, we're going to work on Sun Fac. And the other handy thing about Plo Koon's ship is his third ability. This one passes taunt as well as cleanses. So he's such a handy ship to have around as a backup reinforcement. as he can really help your team survive and add banners to your banner count towards the end. So 67 banners against Malevolence there, guys. That's pretty solid. I'm quite happy about that result. And lastly here, we've run out of leaderships, so we're just going to throw in this first order squad and hopefully do enough damage, and if we can't beat them down, we'll just utilize another team for a cleanup. So I wanted to work quickly on Kira here, as if I did have to do a cleanup, then it would be great if I didn't have to deal with her leadership. So Mission's doing a number on our team here, and I'm glad I had first order Stormtrooper because he can soak a ton of damage as well. And unfortunately we're still stuck behind a Zalbar taunt here. We got an AoE out, which drops Kira there. And we're going to cycle around and try and get a cleanse out for our team. And work on Mission. So as you can see, guys, Sith Trooper is an absolute beast here, as he's able to just drop all these characters down. 58,000 on that AoE. And just working on Zalbar. And all those assists absolutely make easy work of this Zalbar as well. For another low banner count matchup. However, I'm still quite happy with the result here, guys. And just for a quick overview of my opponent and their offensive battles. In the front line, I had Geos, I had my EP and my Grievous squad, which he easily one-shot. However, in the back line was where he struggled with Night Sisters and Resistance heroes. And of course, Rex here at the top is a very reliable defensive team. And just to recap, where I slipped was with this gas team here, which is a bit unfortunate, but it's always good to learn new things. And yeah, that was a really fun GAC, guys. That was the last one, unfortunately, so we're gonna wait for the next one to cycle around. But until then, I hope you guys like the content. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. As always, I will see you on the next one.